The Adventures of a South Pole Pig, a novel of snow and courage by Chris Kurtz. Chapter 4.
Hi everyone, my name's Mrs. Rastatter, and today I'm going to read Chapter 4 from The Adventures of South Pole Pig. Chapter 4. Trouble. Flora was delighted, but scared too. The creature in the dirt fit Mother's description perfectly. Mother said rats were a terrible curse on any farm. They were dirty, they were thieves, but mostly they were meaner than a bad toothache. And she also said piglets should stay far away from them. As Flora took a step sideways, she felt soft fur slide by her. Luna was creeping low to the ground toward the hay bale. "Luna, don't go any closer," Flora whispered. "Shh." Luna brought another paw forward and put it down gently on the dirt. "Rats in the rigging," she murmured. "Time to tangle." Luna flowed ahead one more cat length, gathered her back feet under herself, and then exploded onto the rat. The rat shrieked and turned his teeth to meet his attacker. "Luna!" Flora shouted. "Get away!" But the fighters became a single white and brown ball bouncing off the fence. Dirt and fluffs of fur flew up around them. Flora's rump bumped against the fence on the other side. She hadn't even noticed that she was backing up. The rat's long hose of a tail flailed against the ground, and for an instant he broke free. Then Luna was on him again, and she seemed to have hooks and daggers. She was battle ready. Now, in this next paragraph, she's gonna get him, so if you want to plug your ears, you can for 3 sentences. She pinned the streaking rat on his belly, and as he strained his head back to land a bite, Luna sank her teeth deep into his neck. He quivered, mouth open, and then lay still. Luna did not release him at first. Her eyes blinked slowly, but her teeth stayed right where they were, and the swirl of dirt and fur settled on Luna and all around. She gave the rat a shake and then ever so slowly released her grip. After taking a step back, she hopped up on a fence post and began to clean herself. Flora looked away from the frightening scene, only to see Mother and a half circle of awestruck piglets watching too. Mother came forward. "On behalf of myself and my family, thank you." Luna stopped her cleaning. "Please don't mention it. We all have our task on the farm, and I'm happy to do my part." "It's very much appreciated," said Mother. "And now if you'd be so kind, please remove this nasty, vile creature from our home." "Naturally, Madame." Flora looked back at the rat. His open mouth showed long yellow teeth. His eyes were open too. Jumping down from the porch, Luna stepped around the rat to find a good grip, then seized him in her teeth and moving backwards began to drag him over the dirt. Flora was surprised at how big the rat was, as big as Luna's head. He was also clearly heavy, judging from the way Luna strained as she tugged. Flora trotted forward to help. "Flora!" Her mother's voice made her stop. "Not another step." "I thought you said I should be helpful," Flora watched as Luna slowed herself through the slats in the fence. The rat disappeared one tiny jerk at a time. "Flora, honey, let the cat do what cats do. You just worry about what pigs do." "And what do pigs do?" Flora wondered. She was afraid she knew the answer: nothing. And as she drifted to sleep, her mind filled with a determined thought, almost a plan. Maybe most pigs did nothing but eat and sleep, but that wasn't good enough for this pig. When trouble came next time, Flora would be ready.
The Adventures of a South Pole Pig, a novel of snow and courage by Chris Kurtz. Chapter 5.
Hello, Mad River families. I am Mrs. Mack. I teach kindergarten at Seville Elementary, and today we are going to be reading Chapter 5 of The Adventures of a South Pole Pig by Chris Kurtz, and this chapter starts on page 26. After breakfast, Flora gathered the piglets together to announce a new game. "It's called Cats and Rats." "Yay!" her brothers cheered. "Who wants to be the rat?" The cheering stopped. "Flora," came a warning. Flora glanced around to see her mother rubbing her shoulder against a fence post. She wasn't looking at her children, but clearly she was paying attention. Flora turned back to her brothers. "Good news, everyone," she said. "In this game, nobody has to be the rat." Her brothers cheered again. "Okay, all you cats." Flora's eyes swept the ground to either side of her. "We need to look for a rat substitute." In a moment, they had two suitable imitations. One was half an orange with all of the juice squeezed out. The other was a balled up paper bag. Flora decided to use the paper bag first and nosed it into the circle of piglets. "Stand clear," she commanded, backing up a few steps and then crouching onto her belly. "Watch and learn. When I give the signal, say, 'Rats in the rigging, time to tangle.'" Flora crept forward, making an effort to stay very low. This wasn't as easy as Luna made it look. Flora's legs dragged on the ground instead of stepping cleanly, but she managed to stay down. "Now," she said. "Rats in the rigging, time to tangle," the piglets chanted. Flora concentrated on making her tail twitch and hoped it was working, even though she couldn't see. She drew a few steps closer, then gathering her legs under her, Flora sprang forward and leaped onto the paper bag. It made a satisfying crunch as she stomped it into the ground with her hooves. Her brothers cheered. Then, under Flora's watchful eye, they tried out their own rat attack styles until the paper bag was a tattered mess that no longer crunched at all. "All right," Flora announced. "Time for rat number 2. Unbelievably, the others were already tired. As she watched, they flopped down against one another for their morning nap. Well, she didn't need them to practice. Flora crouched and attacked. The orange peel flipped up and rolled toward the fence. Flora charged again and missed. Her shoulder smacked into the lowest board. Ow! But wait, what was that? A cracking sound she heard? She looked around to make sure the piglets hadn't stirred. Mother was asleep too. Flora leaned against the fence board again. It moved under her weight. She pressed forward. The board gave a soft wooden creak, then parted into 2 pieces. She slipped through until her head was free, then carefully and quietly crawled all the way out. Flora looked around. She was standing near the junk heap. There was the broken wheelbarrow. There were the broken tools and the chicken wire. She had escaped the pig pen at last.
The Adventures of a South Pole Pig, a novel of snow and courage by Chris Kurtz. Chapter 6.
Adventures of a South Pole Pig, Chapter 6. Flora scampered past the junk heap and around the corner of a barn. Bright sunshine made her blink. The green grass under her hooves felt springy and alive. The warmth on her back made her want to squeal and kick up her back legs, but she was pretty sure this would attract attention, maybe even a dog. Flora quickly glanced around, but she was alone. A gravel road led out from the barn, but where it went, Flora couldn't see. Off to one side of the road was a cornfield, and off to the other side was more green grass. There were fences all over, but no one could keep her from going where she wanted to go. Without another thought, she trotted down the road, her hooves clicking on the gravel. Was she still too loud? What happened to piglets that escaped and got caught? She didn't like thinking about that. Flora wiggled under a fence into the cornfield. It was cool and quiet beneath the leaves. Only green light made it through to the secret place, and it filled her with energy. She dashed off between two rows of corn. She turned sharply and zigzagged between stalks. Whee! The tall plants shivered as she bumped them. With green flying by on either side, she zigzagged back the other way. The world of a cornfield seemed large and small at the same time. Flora could hardly see 3 feet in front of her, yet she knew that the field went on and on. Flora plowed to a stop. Why was she buzzing around in circles like a barnyard fly? Lucky Luna could do it every day if she wanted, but this might be Flora's only chance for adventure. As she stood still, she heard dogs barking, louder and closer than even before. She tipped her head to listen. The sound was in front of her. She quieted her heart and headed straight for it. The sound stopped. She put her snout up to sniff. An explorer had to use all their senses to find her way in unfamiliar territory. But only the scent that filled Flora's nose was a green and corny smell. She kept going. The cornfield ended at the road. This one was bigger than the road near the barn. Flora took one cautious step into the sunshine. "Hike!" someone shouted. Flora tucked herself back into the corn stalks. "Pull, Oscar, pull!" the voice said. "Show these young pups how to make it fly." Pulling, this she had to see. Flora poked her head out. A team of animals, 5 in all, was coming up the road. They were hooked together on either side of a rope. In a stream of black, white, yellow, and brown fur, the animals flowed forward, pulling steadily against harnesses at their shoulders. So these must be dogs. "Come on, Oscar, pull," said the voice. Flora gazed at the long snouts and flowing tails. She watched as the many-colored faces drew near. Pink tongues flapped and rolled over sharp white teeth. Ears were tipped back, but it was the eyes that stopped Flora's heart. Bright, determined, proud. Flora wondered if her eyes would ever look like that. At the end of the line was a man riding on a cart with 4 wheels that clattered and bounced all over the gravel road. Dark hair covered his face, and he looked fierce. "Hike!" The man cracked the whip, and the dogs pressed on with new energy. There was one dog in the lead, and his ears picked up slightly as his eyes rested on Flora. He seemed to be taking it in that she was out of place, but he didn't break his stride. The other dogs in the line now glanced at her. Flora's knees trembled. She knew that she should run away, but she was mesmerized. There was something in the teamwork, in the purpose and effort that they shared, that made it hard for her to breathe. Would her brothers even consider trying this? Being a team? The man caught sight of her. "Whoa!" he shouted, and pulled back on a lever that made the wheels stop moving. The dogs halted. "Dab nabbit! Every time we start the strength training, something happens. Why are you out of your pen, little piggy? Somebody needs to learn a lesson." Although the dogs had pulled in silence, now they stamped and whined and barked. They clearly didn't like being stopped. Only the lead dog was calm. His eyes were still on Flora, and she could now see they were soft blue with a black pupil in the middle. This must be Oscar. She watched as his tongue pulsed in and out with each breath. She stuck her tongue out and tried it, but it felt strange. What was it supposed to do for her? The man stepped off the cart and slowly approached Flora. "This'll be the only time I find you out of your pen. Guaranteed." He stretched out his hands. "Come here, piggy." Uh-oh, this looked like trouble. Flora thought fast and skittered sideways out of reach just as the man lunged down to grab her. "Confound it," he yelled. "Don't make me set these dogs on you." She dashed around to the other side of the team and caught sight of their sharp teeth. Loose dogs would be more trouble than she could handle, plan or no plan. Then why is she still standing near them? Something made her want to stay close. These dogs were determined, excited, but not angry or mean. They were eager to get back to their job. What Flora really wanted to do was ask them some questions. She hustled closer, then stopped. Two dogs barked and yanked sideways against their harness. The cart shifted, and the man walked back to steady it. The barkers kept up their noise. Only Oscar stood stock still, moving just his head to watch Flora. She took a few steps back. No one seemed to be in the talking mood. The man came around the cart. "Stop running in circles, you little barnyard bonehead." He stepped towards her, hands out. Flora skipped out of reach again, this time farther up the road. "Fine," the man stomped back to the cart. "I'll catch you later." He grabbed up the dog lines and the cart started to roll. "Hike!" he shouted. Oscar and the others jumped against their harness. They pushed forward and the cart gained speed. Whoa, Flora's heart raced. The whole operation barreled in her direction. Flora began to run alongside. She stuck her tongue out sideways and lunged with each step as if she was pushing against her own harness. "Hike, piggy!" shouted the man. Flora glanced over her shoulder. The man's angry frown was replaced by a grin. "So you're a runner. Come on, you little breakout artist. Keep up. It's training time." The encouraging words went right to her head. What a feeling it would be to run with a team. She imagined herself at the head of the dog pack. Flora surged again. She concentrated on putting not just speed but power into each stride. Flora threw her head down and skittered as fast as she could. But the dogs were much faster. She was soon running next to the cart. "Hike!" the man shouted down to her. Flora didn't want to give up, but she was winded now. Her legs weren't as strong as her determination. She fell behind and had to breathe their dust. Up ahead, the cart stopped, and the man set the lever against the wheels. The dogs began barking again. Flora threw herself down on a patch of grass at the side of the road, heaving and gasping. "You've got spirit, don't you?" the man asked, walking over to her. This time she had no energy to run away. Soon she felt strong fingers rub the top of her head and behind her ears. Flora had never felt anything so delicious. The man bent his face close, and she tried to reach up and lick it. "Troublemaker," said the man. "Cute, but a big troublemaker." Flora didn't even struggle when he carried her to the cart. "Hike!" the man shouted again. A moment later, Flora was moving faster than she ever had. The wind rushing past her ears felt wonderful. Unfortunately, the team was headed back towards her pen. "Stop! Turn around!" she wanted to shout. She tried to wiggle free. "Don't end my adventure this soon!"